Bob, a mafia boss, was scoping out a perfect spot for his new business. He then met with some big shots in the area. There was a regional leader, a mass organization leader, and even a council member in the meeting. Bob was acting all high and mighty because he had a lot of influence and money, and he even looked down on the important people in front of him. Bob had big plans to take over that area and get the government officials there, including a council member, to do what he wanted. He basically bought off the guy and got him to agree to everything without any objections. Bob then insulted the leader of a local mass organization who was present there. He grabbed a glass of champagne and poured it on the man's head. The man had enough and stood up to fight back, but Bob didn't hesitate and his assistant shot the man in the head, killing him instantly. After seeing what went down, the council member wasted no time in convincing the regional leader to give the green light to Bob's proposals. But because the regional leader was a person of integrity and respect, he politely turned down Bob's offer. Not taking no for an answer, Bob swiftly sent some of his guys in, but the regional leader had his own bodyguard, a tough guy who was also skilled at playing the guitar. The guy with the guitar totally took out all of Bob's guys, but then Bob brought out his secret weapon, a dude named Kane. He was a total badass and knew all kinds of martial arts. He went up against the guy with the guitar and took him out in no time along with all the other guys. Afterward, Kane cleaned up with a beer and his chill vibe made everyone too scared to mess with him. After the fight, the local leader didn't back down from his decision not to make a deal with Bob. Bob wouldn't take no for an answer, so he decided to kill the leader. After that, he used the leader's fingerprint to sign the agreement. Shortly after, there was a noise from inside the building, so Kane was asked to investigate. Kane said it was just a cat searching for food, so there was nothing to worry about. Once he got rid of all the competition, Bob set up his business empire in the area for good. Years later, there was this tough dude called Shane. He was a good fighter and was getting ready for a match that day. Turned out, Kane watched him in action and was so impressed that he recruited Shane as his aide straight away. Meanwhile, Bob had a visit from a big-shot business partner from overseas. The guy had no respect for women at all. He straight up asked Bob to give him one of the female maids there that he liked. The woman had no choice and was taken without being able to say no. One day, Kane and Shane had a job to do. They had to meet with a businessman who was competing with Bob. They brought a big suitcase and presented it to the businessman. To his surprise, there was a woman inside who happened to be the businessman's mistress. This really embarrassed the man in front of everyone. Shortly after, Bob showed up wanting to take over the man's business area. When the man refused, Bob ordered his men to kill the man's assistant. It turned into a crazy situation and Kane was being chased by a bunch of guys trying to get rid of him. Luckily, Shane arrived just in time to help him. They fought off the chasers, leaving the businessman alone. Shane really seemed to have it out for the man and wanted to finish him off, but Kane talked him out of it. Shane was stubborn about it, so Kane had to physically restrain him. Eventually, the cops showed up and they were brought to the police station. Shortly after, Kane and Shane were able to get out thanks to some cash. When they drove back home, Kane noticed something was off with Shane. After checking, he saw that Shane was hurt from what had happened. Kane quickly took Shane to a pro at fixing up injuries. Turns out it was his wife Donna. Before getting treatment, Donna planned to give Shane anesthesia so he wouldn't feel any pain. But surprisingly, Shane said he didn't want it and actually wanted to feel the pain. This left everyone puzzled. A few days later, Kane brought Shane to meet Bob for the first time. He wanted to introduce Shane to his boss. When they finally met, Shane fixed his gaze right at Bob. While on the yacht, Bob announced that he was willing to split the profits from his business with anyone who wanted to take on a special mission. When no one spoke up, Shane suddenly interrupted and volunteered for the job. This annoyed Kane, who thought Shane was being impulsive and going against orders. There was a little tension between the two of them for a while, but it blew over pretty quickly. In short, Shane and Kane made it to their destination to carry out the mission. Their job was to take drugs from a group of gangsters. While Shane was fighting the gangsters, Kane took control of the truck with the drugs. Shane was in a really tough fight, all by himself, and ended up getting pretty beat up and trapped. Just when it looked like he was done for, Kane came out of nowhere and saved him. Together, they were able to beat all the bad guys and grab the drugs. Bob was really stoked about the mission's success and wanted to hand over part of his business to Kane to look after. Kane wasn't super into the idea, but he didn't want to say no, so he went along with it. When Kane got back home, he found out that his wife was pregnant, which made him super happy. They all had a big celebration with lots of food. On that occasion, Shane gave Kane a sweet necklace. It was something Shane's dad gave him before he passed, and he wanted Kane to have it because he had considered Kane like his own brother. Later that same day, Shane was spotted by himself, working on his hobby of carving a statue, just like he always did. The next day at the police station, there was this police chief dude named John who was all fired up about busting some criminals in an ambush. Turns out the shady guys he was after were Bob and a drug cartel from Mexico, and they were about to do some drug deals. Right as the deal was going down, John and his crew showed up and started shooting at the bad guys. They took down the Mexican cartel group, but Bob was able to slip away. Just as Bob was about to make a run for it on a boat, Kane whipped out his gun and aimed it at him. Turns out, Kane had been an undercover cop this whole time, sent to bust up Bob's illegal crew. Unfortunately, before Kane could make a move, Shane appeared and shot him, sending him flying into the river. After Kane kicked the bucket, Shane was picked as the new guy to take his place. Before giving him the job, Bob wanted to know Shane's background to make sure he wouldn't betray him like Kane did. Suddenly, Shane pulled an unexpected move. He strangled the boat driver, causing the boat to go out of control and sped up toward the riverbank, then tossed him off the boat. The surprise wasn't over yet. Turns out Kane was still kicking without any gunshot wounds. That sneaky Shane purposely aimed for the necklace he gave Kane, which was made of strong iron and could block the bullet. It was revealed that he never meant to actually hurt Kane. Shortly after that, Kane got a message from Shane, letting him know where he was and asking Kane to come and see Bob's death. Bob's life was in serious danger. When he asked who Shane was, Shane revealed that he was the son of the regional leader that Bob had killed years ago. He was out for revenge for his father's death. It turned out that the noise Bob heard the day he killed the regional leader was actually young Shane witnessing his father's murder. Kane had actually seen Shane, but chose not to tell Bob to protect him. Shane chose not to kill Bob just yet and instead messed him up by cutting his leg tendon, causing him a ton of pain. But just as he was about to do more damage, Kane showed up and put a stop to it. After a little argument, Shane finally got it that revenge wasn't the way to go and would just make things worse. So Kane called up John to fill him in on what was going on and get Bob arrested. So not long after, John showed up out of nowhere, and suddenly, he grabbed an iron rod and whacked Kane from behind. Turns out, John was actually Bob's sidekick the whole time. The ambush earlier that day was part of their sneaky plan to get the drugs from the Mexican cartel for free. It was revealed that Kane had been assigned to be Bob's aide for 15 years to keep all the dirty secrets and protect Bob's shady dealings. Everything had flipped. Kane and Shane ended up being the ones tied up and left to burn on the ship. Not long after the ship went up in flames, a guy found two men lying in front of his house. It was Kane and Shane, who had somehow survived the blaze. The guy rushed them both to the hospital for some serious treatment. Sadly, Kane didn't make it due to severe burns all over his body. Shane, though, managed to hang on, but his face was super messed up from the burns. In a desperate move to save him, the surgeon decided to replace Shane's damaged face with Kane's. So from then on, whenever anyone saw Kane, it was actually Shane. A few months went by, and Shane finally woke up from his coma. Meanwhile, Bob was busy running for a new regional leader spot, trying to expand his influence. Shane wasn't about to let his sorrow get the best of him, so he started honing his physical skills, prepping for some sweet revenge. Meanwhile, Donna, Kane's wife, had a visit from John, who was out to finish her off. Luckily, Shane showed up just in time and shot John multiple times. John, thinking he was seeing Kane, begged for his life and promised to help take down Bob's crime empire. But little did he know, it was Shane standing there, and Shane wasn't about to let anyone stand in his way. After killing John, Shane invited Donna to chat on the riverbank. The gentle sound of the flowing water provided a serene backdrop to the heavy conversation. Shane came clean about not being Kane but Shane, revealing the heartbreaking truth that Kane had died in the fire. He then asked for Donna's permission to avenge Kane's death, considering Kane as his own brother. Heartbroken by the news of her husband's death, Donna, with tears streaming down her face, granted Shane the permission he sought. Right on the day of his inauguration as a new regional leader candidate, Bob was stunned by the appearance of a figure he believed had perished in the fire. The sight of what he thought was Kane left him speechless. Not realizing it was Shane, Bob invited him to one of his luxurious residences for a talk. When Shane arrived at the location, the cowardly Bob, gripped with fear, fled to the top floor and ordered all his armed men to eliminate Shane. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Shane didn't show the slightest hesitation. He bravely took on all of Bob's men at once, managing to eliminate them with incredible skill and speed. He then headed up to the second floor, where he encountered Bob's new ace, a skilled swordsman. Shane, fueled by his unwavering determination, matched the swordsman's prowess with ease. Using a sword to fight the man, Shane finally managed to defeat him after a fierce battle. Finally, it was time for Shane to confront Bob. Bob, in a moment of cowardice, suddenly appeared from behind and shot both of Shane's legs, causing him to collapse to the ground. As Bob approached with the intention to stab him, Shane mustered the strength to grab Bob's knife and stab him in the belly. Unfortunately, the stab wasn't deep enough to end Bob. When Shane got up and intended to approach Bob again, Bob quickly grabbed his gun and shot Shane, delivering a fatal blow that ended his life. At the same time, Donna was in the hospital, finally giving birth to her first child without the presence of her husband. It was a bittersweet moment as she held her newborn baby, knowing that Kane would never get to meet his child. When Donna was on the elevator with a baby, she coincidentally ran into Bob, who had just finished receiving treatment for his stab wound. Not realizing that the woman beside him was Kane's wife, Bob and his men casually talked about their success in killing Shane. Upon hearing that Shane had failed to take his revenge, Donna felt an overwhelming wave of devastation. As the elevator doors opened, it became clear that Donna had taken matters into her own hands. Bob and his aide were found dead, having been killed by Donna in a moment of cold, calculated retribution.